Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 209 of the podcast, where you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube. Today is Sunday, September the 20th, and we are coming off of a fun weekend of fights. UFC Fight Night 178. Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Before we get into any of that, I have a very special treat for all of you. Back from the dead to join in for a special cameo all the way from what is now cooling off New Jersey. Please welcome my friend and your favorite, Jeff, the Animal Wilson. Jeff, how you feeling on this early Sunday afternoon, my friend?
Bill, I'm doing fine, man. It's UFC, it's episode 209, and we're doing fine, man. So, Bill, I'm excited. I was at a really awesome wedding yesterday, which was, it was a little bit of a smaller affair, and it was outside because of the pandemic going on. But I came home, I was a little tired. But Bill, these fights perked me up, man. What a card! I mean, the prelims were fantastic. But Bill, before we get into anything, what were you up to this weekend?
Yeah, so if you could tell, I'm not in my studio right now. I'm actually out at the beach. So we have a beach condo in Bel Air Beach that we keep on Airbnb, but there's no tenants in it currently. So we decided to come out here for the weekend. And Jeff, this room should look familiar to you because this was your bedroom when you came down to visit, where you discovered Cheers for the first time.
Yeah. And I haven't stopped watching since.
So for those who've never heard this story, we've told it on the air a few times. Jeff came down here to visit, and we used to have this brewery near this condo called Barley Mow, which, rest in peace, Barley Mow. So Barley Mow is no longer with us. They were the best brewery around for a long time.
Amen.
And the wife and I used to frequent there. This was pre-child, of course. So Jeff came down, we took him there, and I said, Jeff, this place is like our Cheers. And he's like, what did you say, Jeff? Like, oh, what? You guys say Cheers before every drink? Or
yeah, something like that. I had no idea what you were talking about.
And I said, no, it's like our Cheers because everybody knows our name. And he's like, Bill, I'm not following. And I'm like, the TV show Cheers. So, of course, we get home that night, and I introduced Jeff to it. And we watched a couple of episodes. Wake up the next day, start making coffee or whatever in the kitchen, and Jeff emerges from the guest bedroom and says, Phil, I'm on season 3. And I think you had almost finished the series by the time you left because you were staying up every night watching it for like the week you were here or whatever. And the rest is history. Then you got hooked on that and Fraser, and everybody knows the rest. It hasn't been that long since you've been on the show.
Yeah, dude. I just thought Cheers was so well written, and I needed to know if Sam and Diane were going to get together. I had to stay up. I needed answers, Bill.
Yeah, they should do a reprise and bring it back and see if they do.
Yeah, they want to do that for Fraser, which is going to be a little complicated because John Mahoney, who played Marty Crane, Fraser's dad, passed in 2018. God rest his soul. But dude, I have a lot of fond memories, not just of Cheers, Bill, but of that condo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went to visit you guys a few times there, and the view is fantastic. I mean, we go outside, and Bill, 30 feet from your door, and we're in the water, man.
Yeah, it's nice. I liked coming out here, and then you could tell from the glow on my face that I've been coated with sunscreen before recording this. So we were out on the beach, and I want to tell a little story before we get into the fights and stuff, because, the wife invited some of her mom friends over so they could bring the kids to the beach and pool and tire them out and stuff. So I went out this morning to Publix to get some cold cuts and chicken wings and stuff like that. And I tried to buy some alcohol. And I got to the register, and they were like, oh, sorry, we can't sell this to you until 11 a.m. And which, I get it. Everywhere has their rules. I don't know if it's a state thing or if it's, per store or whatever. So I get back here, and we didn't have much to offer people who were coming over. So then I find out you can order alcohol through Uber Eats, Jeff. So, only logical choice. Come 11 a.m., I get on Uber Eats, and I put some beers in the cart, and a nice lady named Ruth came and drove them to our location. And it was funny because you have to bring ID out to her, to the Uber, because they have to verify that you're 21 years of age. And she was saying, oh yeah, technically, I'm not supposed to deliver it unless somebody presents an ID. And then if people appear to be drunk, I'm not supposed to leave the alcohol with them. And which to me, like 90% of the time, you're ordering alcohol to be delivered because you're drunk and you can't go and pick it up yourself. So like if you're Uber and you make this policy and you don't give people the alcohol, it's almost like you're encouraging them to drive drunk. Like if people are drunk and they're, in their own house and they're not driving anywhere, I don't see the harm in leaving some more alcohol with them. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to put Ruth on blast, but she was like, I wouldn't deprive anybody of drinking in their own home. And hopefully nobody from Uber is listening to this, and they're gonna look up all the routes in this area and narrow it down pretty quick, because I don't think there's a whole lot of them. That was a fun story. So that beautiful sound right there is me cracking an ice cold Yingling, the pride of Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Haven't had one of these in a while, but options were limited on the old Uber Eats app. So take what I can get. I saw the Yingling on there. It's a throwback for me, so I had to do it. We got some hard seltzers for the ladies, and we're having a good day. But I had to stop and get this podcast in because the animal was available, and I have limited daylight where I'm going to be sober today, so. Myself. And I won't be driving anywhere, for the record. We're staying here tonight, gonna get up early, go to work in the morning. But the plan is day drinking at the beach on a Sunday, because we haven't done that like since we lived here, because we haven't been big day drinkers. But hey, cheers to everybody.
You can't go wrong with a Yingling, man.
What do you think about that Uber Eats policy of not delivering the alcohol if somebody seems drunk?
I mean, it seems a little counterproductive because, like you said, this is a good alternative to drinking and driving. So, I don't totally agree with it. I think it'd be a lot safer. Take it to somebody's house, save some lives.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in my own house, like usually I don't need to go out to get more alcohol. I'm not like a college kid anymore, but we've all been at that point in our lives. Like somebody's going to go on a beer run. It's like, all right, who's the least drunk? And then, you give them the keys, and I'm not proud of that. I don't encourage that. I don't recommend anybody do that, especially now that you have the Uber Eats on your phone. You pay a couple bucks extra and you save some lives and save yourself, jail time possibly. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? You order it so you don't have to get in your car, get behind a wheel and make a stupid decision. In any case, luckily, we weren't drunk when she delivered it because it was 11:30 a.m. anyway, but I just, you like to pick up information from people, because the ordering alcohol on Uber is a new thing to me. So I was kind of curious about it. All right, Jeff, let's do something we haven't done in a while. Let's talk about some fights publicly. Now, even though you've been on a reprieve from the show, you and I still text about the fights every weekend. So I kind of know where you stand on a lot of these already, but the people don't. So let's talk about it. Let's start with the main event. And before we get into the punches and the kicks and everything like that, I guess we have to mention the elephant in the room, and that's the politics. So 2 weeks in a row, we've had red versus blue. And I don't mean red corner versus blue corner. I mean Republican versus Democrat. So last week, Michelle Watterson, I guess, came out as a supporter of Donald Trump, and Angela Hill is a Democrat, a supporter of Joe Biden. So, people were not only divided on who was going to win the fight based on the skill of the fighters, but they were divided on the political persuasion of the fighters. And this week, of course, we had Colby Covington, who appeared at the Republican National Convention last week. And then on the other side, we had Tyron Woodley, who showed up to the press conference and answered every question with Black Lives Matter. So I don't like to talk about politics very much, and I've kind of alluded to the fact that you guys would probably be surprised to find out where I align politically. That's something I keep close to myself, and I talk to people who I know are mature enough to handle it with, because a lot of people are, just want to choose a side. I hate this person, I support this person, and if you support this person, then you're an idiot. And if you support this person, you're a snowflake. We've all heard, the horrible things going on on social media between people who have no idea about politics in general and policy and things like that. And Jeff had to hop off for a second, but Jeff, I was just talking about the politics, how we had Republican versus Democrat in the main event for 2 weeks in a row. And, a lot of people are upset, and it kind of depends on where they align politically. So when Tyron Woodley came out saying Black Lives Matter at the press conference, people were saying he needs to keep politics out of MMA. And then other people were like, but why don't you say anything to Colby Covington or Dana White? They're at the Republican National Convention. Here's my thought on it. And I don't want to get deep in the weeds on the politics or anything. I pay attention to what these athletes do inside the cage. I love Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley as fighters. They are both phenomenal fighters. They're both going to be legendary in my book as far as the welterweight division goes. They're both phenomenal fighters. There's no debating that. As far as they need to keep politics out of MMA, look, they've earned the platforms that they have. They've earned their followers on social media. They've earned, the microphones that are being pointed in their direction at the press conferences. And we live in America. They have the right to speak their mind. Now, no matter what they believe in, it's really up to you as the consumer of the sport, whether you're mature enough to handle it. Are you mature enough to handle Colby Covington wearing a MAGA hat? Are you mature enough to handle Tyron Woodley wearing a Black Lives Matters t-shirt? And the answer from a lot of people has been no, but that is your problem. That's not the problem of the athletes. They have the right to speak their mind. They have the right to their political beliefs. They have the right to their religious beliefs. And, you can't say they need to keep it out of MMA. This is who they are, and they happen to be famous in the realm of MMA. And that's the way it is. And if they want to use their platform to spread a message, whether it be a charity that they love or their religious beliefs, then that's their choice. And you need to be mature enough to handle that. And if you're not, just don't pay attention to it like I do. I don't give a shit what they talk about. I don't watch too much of the press conferences and all that stuff anymore. Anyway, I don't really listen to the commentary. I watch the fights. I'm here to analyze the fights for you guys. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for or what God to pray to or anything like that. And neither is Jeff. We both have our beliefs and our political beliefs and our religious beliefs, and we keep it out of it, but that's our choice. If we wanted to talk about it, then you'd have to deal with it. So that's where I stand on the political stuff. Like they have the platform, they earned it, they can use it how they choose. If you don't like it, don't listen, or express your beliefs too. That's your right as well. And I'll leave it at that. Any thoughts on that stuff, Jeff, before we get into the actual combat?
Yeah, Bill, I agree with you 100%, dude. Like, I love Tyron Woodley. And Tyron Woodley is somebody who's very outspoken. So, I'm a fan of him as a fighter. I love watching him work in the cage. But, I don't always watch his press conferences because I know he's going to say something. Maybe, like, I'm not going to get offended by it, obviously, but it'll be something a little bit out there sometimes, especially more recently, like accusing Dana White of racism and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's not what I'm here for. So, I didn't watch any of the press conferences leading up to the fight. And I even told you, Bill, when you texted me about the press conferences, I was like, dude, I was busy with work. I didn't get to see him. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm with you 100%. And I think you can still be a fan of both fighters and disagree with their politics. I like watching John Jones fight. I don't agree with his lifestyle, but that doesn't affect me. I'm not gonna let it. Um, but yeah, dude, I agree with you 100%, man. If it bothers you, don't watch the press conferences. Just watch them fight in the cage. That's what I did, and I had a better time for it, man, because that fight was fantastic last night, Bill. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Like I'm a huge fan of Tyron Woodley. I'm not going to buy his rap album either.
Whoa,
Like,
whoa, Bill. I gotta slow you down there because Tyron Woodley has defined our generation with his lyrics like "beat your ass." All
who are the 5 greatest rappers? Tyron, Tyron, Tyron,
right?
That's a Chappelle Show reference for those of you who didn't get it. But
Yeah, our younger viewers might not get that one.
well, look it up. Look it up. Dylan, the rapper, greatest rapper.
Oh, man.
He spits hot fire.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual fight. This fight was all Colby Covington, man. Bell to bell, or bell to Tyron Woodley screaming stop. The first round, he was a little tentative. Tyron looked like he was ready to throw the hands and be explosive. And, Colby held his hands up. He walked forward the whole time. He hit his first takedown easily. And then after that, they were saying he was missing takedown attempts, which I didn't particularly like them saying that, because I don't think he was attempting takedowns, Jeff. I think he was trying to hold Tyron up against the cage, make him defend takedowns, which, causes blood to flood to the muscles in your arms and causes your arms to fatigue. It's all a strategy. He wanted to tire out Tyron's arms so he doesn't have that explosive power on the feet. That was pretty clear to me. And then, the wrestling came into play a little bit later on. He was working the body of Tyron Woodley the entire fight, just beating on it like Rocky Balboa beating up that side of beef in the meat freezer. It was a brilliant game plan. He worked the body. He made his arms swell up, and then he kept the pressure on him like Colby Covington does. And I was surprised to see how much bigger Colby looked, and how much stronger he was in the clinch. Every time Tyron was able to reverse the position, Colby whipped him right back against the fence and got his underhooks back. It was an impressive display from Colby Covington, who was as relentless as ever. And I want to give him all the credit before we get into the fact that Tyron Woodley has lost 14 straight rounds in the UFC, and the last of which he lost 10-8 on all 3 judges' scorecards. But let's give Colby the shine he deserves as a fighter right now. And tell me what you got out of his performance, Jeff.
Bill, if Colby's a smart fighter, man, you can dislike him all you want, but the guy's a genius in that cage. He saw what worked against Tyron Woodley when Kamaru Usman beat him. That's how Kamaru Usman fought him, but had him right up against the cage in that clinch, worked the body, worked his legs, able to score some takedowns, and that was the formula that Colby used as well. But I felt like Colby was a little bit more aggressive with it, man. Like he was landing some hard shots. Not every one was very hard, but there were a couple in there that cut Woodley. That eye was gushing before that rib was broken. Tyron Woodley kept bleeding into his eyes for 2 rounds. I don't think Usman cut him that bad, but Colby Covington was vicious in there, dude. He was calculated too. He was methodical. And, he was methodical in how he would get into his positions because like you said, he kept his hands up. He would use his striking to get close to Woodley and then keep him up against the cage. And, his ground and pound was vicious, man. You could hear the shots to the body whenever they were on the ground, dude. And I know that there was a rib injury, but I think part of that was the body work that he was putting in. And again, he cut Woodley up. And dude, something that I was impressed with was, like you said, Colby's physical strength, man. Because Woodley's body is all muscle, dude. He's a really strong guy. I mean, just ask Robbie Lawler. But dude, Covington was able to throw him around in there. He landed some great takedowns. There was a nice high crotch that he used. I think it was the third or fourth round. And he picked Woodley clean up off the ground and just dropped him straight down. Yeah, dude. So I was really impressed with Covington last night, man. I thought, I thought that he would struggle a little bit more against Woodley, especially in the grappling department. But man, it just goes to show how high level his wrestling is, dude. It's right up there with Kamaru Usman. It almost makes you wonder why he didn't use his wrestling against Kamaru Usman. It was that good.
Yeah, I mean, the answer there is probably two high level wrestlers when they get together. There's like an unspoken agreement, like whoever shoots first is a bitch. We're going to settle this on the feet. And that's just how it goes with wrestlers sometimes. And this wasn't the case last night, though, because you have Tyron Woodley, All-American at University of Missouri. People always talk about his wrestling credentials. Why doesn't he use them? Technically, he's used them his whole career. He would just use them in reverse. He would wrestle defensively. And Woodley is a counter striker. When he wrestled, he was a counter wrestler, meaning that when someone shoots on you, you react and pancake them, or you sprawl and snap them down. Which those techniques are hard to do against a fellow Division I All-American and former world champion in Colby Covington, world champion in wrestling, that is, interim champion in MMA before anybody out there corrects me. It's just a different level, man. And if he hasn't been repping that wrestling, if he was banking on hitting that guillotine or hitting a big overhand right that he's been known for his whole career, then he's going to spend some time on his back. And I was really impressed with how busy Covington stayed on the ground, man. Just everywhere there was an opening, there was a fist or an elbow flying. The cut on the forehead, like you said, working the body, and those punches to the body don't hurt very much, but it's money in the bank, man. They just add up over time, and who knows what happened with Tyron's rib there, but after the history these two have and all the shit that was talked between them, not necessarily leading up to it, because they were both kind of quiet leading up to it, but in past years when Colby was calling Tyron out while he was the champion, there's a lot of shit talk there. And man, the one way you don't want to go out against a nemesis is a verbal tap. And it wasn't even, he didn't even say tap. He said, stop my rib. And luckily referee Dan Murgliata stepped in there, because even when he said, ow, stop, Covington landed a couple of more shots to the body in there. He waited for Murgliata to pull him off. So man, just dominant. And 10-8 round in that fourth round on all three judges' scorecards. So now let's get into Tyron Woodley, man. What do you do here? He's lost now 14 rounds in a row. The loss to Usman, he lost all 5 rounds. Gilbert Burns, he lost all 5 rounds. He lost 4 rounds to Colby Covington before, he was finally technically submitted in that 5th round. So you're looking at like 72 minutes of getting your ass beat inside the octagon. And a lot of people are calling for retirement. I have a different opinion myself, but I want to hear yours first, Jeff, before we get into it.
I don't know, maybe a step down in competition, dude, because, you got to look at Woodley's body of work, dude. He's a special fighter, man. I still remember how he basically beat the bricks off of Robbie Lawler, dude. Nobody since has done that to Robbie Lawler.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the finish. He's run up against Covington and been basically laying on for 3 rounds. It's happened before, but just the raw, like the way that Tyron Woodley finished him. I mean, it was scary, dude. He bull rushed him, and I've never been able to get that out of my head. He bull rushed him and was just throwing these huge hooks, and I think there was even one or two punches that were unnecessary because Lawler was just completely out.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the way he beat Demian Maia, which I know was boring, but he knows how to fight. He's a great fighter, and I don't know if maybe he's just lost some of his fire for it because he's got the rap career going. He's been on a couple of podcasts, and I don't know if maybe he's kind of lost the plot a little bit. But I don't think retirement is really on the cards for Woodley, man. Obviously he's still making weight, and you have to remember, Bill, the guys that he's been losing to, those are the upper echelon, the cream of the crop here. So I think
Mm-hmm.
he a step down in competition and let him work his way back up the ladder would be good for Woodley.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I do not think Tyron Woodley should retire. The guy is a world-class athlete and fighter. I think he needs to evolve a little bit, work on some things, take some time off, and really get in the gym and work his jiu-jitsu off his back. Start working his wrestling. Get back in a wrestling room at Missouri. Get back over there and start wrestling with the young guys because that's how you really sharpen up the wrestling. Randy Couture is a great example of that. He would go to high school wrestling rooms when he was at the peak of the UFC and get in there and wrestle with those kids. And that's how he was able to stay sharp. But if you look at Tyron's body work, like you were saying, this is only the second time he's been finished in his career. And the last time was in 2012 when he was knocked out by Nate Marquardt. And his last fights, he's been fighting in nothing but title fights or main events for the last 4+ years. July 2016 was when he fought Robbie Lawler for the title, and he's been in 5-round fights ever since. So let's move him down to a co-main event or somewhere on the main card. I say Tyron Woodley against James Vick.
Oh, I like that.
James Vick has been having his struggles as of late as well. And if he can't handle a guy like that, then I would agree, with the popular opinion right now, that is, maybe he should consider retirement. But I think he needs a little confidence boost. And then another 3-round fight after that, maybe 2 more before you start putting him back in that main event slot, which, he deserves to be in. And the other thing is, he is 38 years old, but I mean, he still looks good. He's not as bulky as he used to be. He used to carry a lot more muscle, I feel like. But he's still in phenomenal shape, and he could still compete. Like I said, this was only the second time in his career he was finished. And yeah, he got manhandled by Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, but these are 2 of the best guys on the planet at welterweight right now, which is why they're probably going to be fighting next, despite all the heat between Colby and Kamaru on the post fight. I don't know if you caught that circus, Jeff.
Yeah, it was entertaining, but I don't think it's gonna happen after Usman beat Colby in their last fight. I mean, it was pretty decisive. I think I maybe gave 2 rounds to Colby, but for sure, I had Usman winning that fight. But yeah, dude, I think right now the state of the welterweight division, I think Colby just needs to cool off for a little bit because it's looking like they are gonna make that Burns Kamaru Usman fight happen, which I'm very excited for. I think a lot of people are. So, yeah, and those are the last 2 guys Woodley lost to. So you can't discount Woodley. These 2 guys are the 2 of the best in the division. So, yeah, Bill, I like what you said about how Woodley has had only 5-round fights and title fights. I mean, that stuff beats you up, man. Fighting is exhausting. And I'm someone who just trains jiu-jitsu, casually. So, dude, 5 minutes just trying to get somebody off of you sucks, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 3 rounds for Woodley would be a really, really good scaffold to build him back up.
Yeah, and it's not just the 5-round fights, it's the preparation for 5-round fights, which if you talk to any professional fighter who's been to that level, the training is just different. The cardio is different. You have to push yourself, much harder. I'm not a fan of 5-round fights personally. I feel like it shortens careers. It's really damaging to the athletes. Like, your body's not meant to be put through that for 25 minutes. Chael Sonnen makes this argument a lot, and I have to agree with it, man. Like, if you look at some of the careers that have been put on hold because of 5-round fights, like look at Yair Rodriguez, when he had the 5-rounder. He had to take like a year off. Robert Whitaker has injury after injury, and you could attribute a lot of that to the 2 5-round wars of the Yoel Romero.
Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, Cain Velasquez. I mean, the list goes on. You'll find very few people, I think the exception probably George St. Pierre, that have seen more harm than good from fighting 5-round fight after 5-round fight after 5-round fight. And of course, the average UFC fan, just screaming, just bleed guys like, I want 10-round fights. It's like, all right, but how many of them do you want from your favorite fighter? Because they're not going to be able to sustain that. And yeah, man. So let's move on to the co-main event, which I thought was the fight of the night. There was no fight of the night bonus awarded, but I thought this fight was fantastic. So Niko Price and Donald Cowboy Cerrone. So Niko Price just slapping the shit out of Cowboy in that first round, man. He was landing some heavy, heavy shots. And we all know Cowboy's a slow starter. Niko gets the point deducted from Jason Herzog, who I believe is either the first or second best referee in the game, hands down, him and Keith Peterson. So he gets the point deducted. I thought Cowboy came back and won the second 2 rounds. So I scored it 29-27 for Cowboy. One judge saw it that way. The other 2 judges, I guess, gave the second round to Niko Price and scored it 28-28. So I actually texted my buddy Ryan, who's on the show right now, and I'll post this comment about the 5 rounds. I texted him and I said, I scored it 29-27 for Cowboy, but I think it's going to be a draw. And then, of course, one judge scored it 29-27 and the other 2 judges scored it a draw. Before we get into the X's and O's, Jeff, how did you score the fight at the end?
See, I had it similar to what you said, and one of the judges had it this way too. I had it 29-27 for Cowboy. I felt like the draw, not that that Cowboy got robbed, but I felt like Cowboy just did enough more in those last 2 rounds to really clinch it. But dude, take nothing away from Niko Price, man. It was a different fight for him. I don't think he's been in that type of situation in terms of his fights, because remember, a lot of his fights have never gone past the first round. I don't think any of his fights have gone past the first round, actually, except for this one. Even his losses, I think he got finished in like the first round. I want to say, was it Kevin Lee who knocked him out pretty bad? Might have been Kevin Lee.
This actually is the first time in his career he's been to a decision.
Yeah, so credit to Niko Price, dude, because Cowboy took him into the deep water. Yeah, so I was pretty impressed with Niko Price. I felt like his cardio held up really well, but I just felt like the output from Cowboy was a little bit more. I felt like he was landing some of the bigger shots. So, but I'm not a judge. It's a good thing they don't pay me for it. I couldn't do that job. Yeah, so split decision MMA. Yeah, I felt like Cowboy wasn't at 100% either. He looked a little bit more slow, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I felt like he did more to win the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So at the weigh-in, he looked horrible. He looked 85 years old. He had that kind of scraggly beard going, and he looked like really sucked out. And this is at, we've seen Cowboy fight at 155 for most of his career. This is at 170. He looked a lot more filled out on fight night. But yeah, the weigh-in, he looked so depleted and like not really muscular. He kind of had like saggy old man skin. And, after that first round, I was like, damn, I know Cowboy's a slow starter, but this is, he's giving Niko Price 100-yard head start here in the 110-yard dash. But he did turn it up as the fight went on. Cowboy's the kind of guy, like, as he gets hit, he kind of needs to get hit a little bit to wake up. He's just one of those guys who fights that way. Chris Lieben was that way. Where Chris Lieben, you'd have to basically knock him out to get him to start fighting. And we've seen how that's turned out for him and his life from that point. But yeah, I thought Cowboy did enough. And then the post fight was weird because Megan O'Leary had both of them there. Niko Price has to be the happiest guy to ever get a draw. He's like, he was acting like he just got into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, like he won a golden ticket. He's like, I'm going to meet an Oompa Loompa. I went to a draw with Cowboy Cerrone. And Cowboy was basically like, no, he shouldn't have gotten the point deducted, and I should have lost. Two of the judges would have given it to him without the point deduction. I've lost 5 in a row. That's my mentality right now. You're not going to see me again for the rest of 2020, which is the first time we've ever seen this attitude from Cowboy. You know, forget about how he looked and how he fight or how he scored it. Usually Cowboy is like, I want to fight again next week, even if he's got, you know, Ally Quinta talked about this. He's like, you know, after his fight with Cowboy, 2 months later, he's watching Cowboy on his couch, and he's like, I still couldn't walk right from our fight, and I'm watching him on TV fight again. To hear Cowboy say, like, I'm going to take the rest of the year off, and it's only September, you got to think he's going to be slowing down at this point, because here's a guy who's, you know, tied for the record most UFC fights in a year, with which Chimaev is probably going to break that record at any point, maybe this year, the way he's going. But yeah, I guess you got to be concerned for Cowboy in that regard. Any other thoughts on this co-main event, Jeff?
No, I think your analysis of Cowboy is really interesting, and that post-fight interview is telling as well. So yeah, man, I mean, Cowboy's up there for years. He's been doing this forever. So, you know, I think he's going to slow down too. You know, because he fights like 3-4 fights a year, and he's been doing that for so long. You know, it's got to take a toll on the body.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, his share of main events as well, and training for the 5-round fights, you know, like we talked about. So that's something that will just break your body down, man. What won't break your body down is winning a fight in 17 seconds like Khamzat Chimaev did last night, his 3rd win in 60-something days, which is just insane, especially over a veteran like Gerald Meerschaert. It was hard to watch because I'm a fan of Meerschaert. I was hoping for this fight to at least be competitive. I thought we would have seen, you know, the experience play more of a factor, but Chimaev, man, what can you say? The dude is a fucking bulldozer. I think you can't even compare him to Khabib anymore. Now that, you know, Khabib's never had anywhere close to a 17-second knockout. Just looked devastating in there, and, you know, wants to fight again in October. I don't think they'll deny him that. I don't see Damian Maia being the opponent after this. It's probably going to be somebody else, but man, what can you say about this kid? It's kind of hard to deny the hype at this point.
Yeah, man. Bill, I'm gonna have to jump on that hype train, dude. I was impressed with him his first few fights, and you know, that's another thing is this guy, Chimaev. He's exciting to watch, dude. It's not just, yeah, and I feel like there's so much about his game that we don't know. Like we never saw him knock somebody out before, like with one straight punch like that. He maybe threw, I think that was the one punch he threw in the fight, and it put Meerschaert down hard, man. And yeah, dude. So, you know, we've only seen 3 or 4 of his fights, so, you know, there's probably some depth to his game that we don't know about. But Bill, you know, I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to find out what he can do, because he's definitely made a splash in this 170 this welterweight division, and I think he even fought at middleweight in one of those fights.
2 of those fights, and one of them was last night against Gerald Meerschaert.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So see, I get mixed up with his weight class because he did a middleweight fight one week, and then a welterweight fight like the next week. So
yeah, which is weird because he dropped down to the lower weight the week after. I think he walks around at like 190, so 185 is nothing for him to get down to, and then, you know, 170 I guess is a bit of a cut, but, you know, 20 pounds is a pretty normal cut at this level. Yeah, I mean, the kid's a stud. I mean, you can't really deny it. And, you know, he's getting some attention for himself. I don't really appreciate the way he's doing it. You know, I thought he was impressive enough with his performances. I didn't need the kind of the cringy trash talk and stuff like that. But, you know, I can't be a hypocrite because I was just telling you guys at the start of the show, if you don't like what guys are saying, don't pay attention to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't really care for that stuff, but I look forward to watching him fight again. Let's see. Coach Bill says, Reddit said that he has more UFC wins than he has received significant strikes, which is unreal. I agree, Coach. Yeah, he's in his 3 UFC fights. There's only been 1 significant strike landed against him, which is insane because, the talk going into this was, well, his last 2 opponents, they were last minute and nobody really knew who they were. This is his first real test. And this is a grizzled veteran and Gerald Meerschaert, who's, over 40 fights and so much experience, been around, tied for most submission wins in UFC middleweight history. You go on and on about how experienced the guy is. And the other thing about it, Jeff, that I was impressed with last night, and I said Paul Felder should have gotten a performance bonus because that guy watched 2 of his teammates in Tyron Woodley and Gerald Meerschaert get demolished, and he stayed totally professional the entire night. You would have never known that he was so close with both of those guys. And he gave credit to the opponents and did a lot more in that broadcasting role than a lot of us would have been able to do. I know if it was me and I was doing the broadcasting and it was one of my teammates, I would have been like, fuck this show. Like, I'm going home.
Oh, man.
Let me fight Chimaev. Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but well, if I was Paul Felder, I would, but if I were me, I wouldn't. For sure. Which I am me, so I wouldn't do that. But credit to Paul Felder. What a fucking professional that guy is.
Yeah, dude. And Bill, I didn't realize how much I appreciated good commentating from athletes until I started following soccer again. Pandemic. I've have some more free time, so I've been watching soccer. Bill, some of these guys are, and I understand that they're passionate because they're recently retired, but the bias is unbearable and it pisses me off. So, dude, I have a new appreciation for Paul Felder, dude. I think he's doing great on the mic. And it also bothered me when DC kept yelling Rose, Thug Rose. So, and I appreciate that they're happy for their teammates and everything, but I also like professionalism and unbiased when you're on commentary and in that position. So, dude, huge credit to Paul Felder. And, I've been really liking him on commentary. I don't want him to stay retired, but if he stays on commentary, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think he's staying retired. I have a feeling we're going to see Paul Felder again. But, yeah, there's something to be said for the experience. They're able to speak to what the guys are going through in the cage. And, you got a lot of people out there who are commenting on the sport and even doing podcasts like this who don't even train. And it's like, that's like learning how to barbecue a brisket from a vegan, like, well, you got to take the brisket, salt and pepper, and you got to get the smoke to 425. It's like, have you fucking done it and eaten it and know it tastes good? No, you haven't. So shut your mouth. But, I digress because, of course, everybody has the right to an opinion, but I just feel like your opinion matters a little more if you've actually done the thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, but the internet has unfortunately made people believe otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. But whatever. We've seen other podcasts come and go, and there's a reason they don't stick around that long, and it's because they're not as bored as me. And they probably find better things to do. And in any case, I'll tell you something that wasn't boring, Jeff, and that was the Johnny Walker and Ryan Spann fight. As long as it lasted, this was the craziest round of the night. Like, if they could, there's fight of the night. If they could give a round of the night bonus, this one gets my money because Johnny Walker was knocked out at least twice in this round, but he stayed composed. And, he was able to punish Ryan Spann for going in on those legs. And Dominic Cruz had mentioned it on the broadcast. Once you hit your knees, you got to abandon a takedown. You shouldn't be trying to take anybody down from your knees in MMA because you just leave yourself open. The same reason you shouldn't hang on to a single leg too long. 3 to 5 seconds is the most you should hang on to a single leg. And you either have to finish it or transition to a double because they have 2 hands free to punch you in the face, and you have 0 hands free to block those punches. So that's what happened with Ryan Spann, man. He was taking those big elbows from Johnny Walker, and which turned into hammer fists, and lost a fight that he should have won, man. He got a little over anxious and jumped on Johnny Walker a little too fast when he had him rocked, and kind of gave him an opportunity to recover. And the time with John Kavanagh has obviously paid off, because Johnny Walker looked good on the ground. When he was put down early in the fight, he was able to get himself over to the cage and wall walk himself back up. He had a real Zen-like composure in there. And RC Fun Zone says that it was one of the nastiest elbows he'd seen in a while. Shout out to RC Fun Zone. And I know who that is, but I'm not gonna put him on blast. We'll just leave it at that. So yeah, give me your thoughts on this light heavyweight contest, Jeff.
Bill, man, what a fight, dude. What a round, like you said. Man, they put on their best impression of Pat Barry versus Czech Congo. That's what this reminded me of, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Spann landed that really nice straight left when Johnny Walker went for, I forgot what it was. It might have been a teep, but it was some type of kick. And dude, just it floored him. Spann just floored that left. And I think there was a right hand or something that landed, and Walker was on the floor. And then he pops back up, and oh man. Dude, what a fight. And like you said, I thought Ryan Spann had it, because Walker, he lost his legs, man. He was on wobbly legs after those two shots.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, was able to recover. I did like that he was using the cage to wall walk back up, because he has been susceptible against good grapplers. But man, dude, and I still had some hope that Ryan Spann would finish the takedown. And then the elbows turned into hammer fists, and Ryan Spann just stopped advancing his position, and then the ref pulled him off, and he wasn't moving for a little bit, and I was just like, man, dude, what a fight, man. That if you were sleepy, I was a little bit sleepy watching this card just because of the wedding, but dude, this fight woke me up real quick, man.
Yeah, for sure. It was the most action-packed round of the entire night, but bar none. I'd say both of those guys deserve a bonus, but I'm not the one writing the checks. If I were, I'd be broke, because I'd be like, you get a bonus and you get a bonus. I'd be like Oprah at the end of this thing. But let's talk about Mackenzie Dern, man. Armbar submission over Randa Markos. I don't think the result shocked anybody. Submission win over Randa Markos, who's a good grappler. She's got some submission wins over under her belt. Or over her belt, somewhere around her belt. So I don't think the result was a shock, but the way it went about was just a little bit weird. She throws a high kick right off the bat and just falls on her butt, and Randa Markos is like, okay, and just dives into her guard. Probably, not the best strategy. You at least want to tire her out a little bit before you go to the ground with her transitions were just beautiful, man. From the triangle to the armbar to the omoplata for the sweep, and then the way she set up that armbar, and then the way she was changing the angles, and the way she freed her leg. It was just beautiful Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Awesome display by Mackenzie Dern, but it never should have gotten to that point, because Randa Markos should have let her stand up after she dropped herself with the high kick.
Yeah, dude, that was let's just say it's a good thing Mackenzie Dern's got a really good ground game. Dude, man, I gave Randa Markos credit, though. She did a good job fighting off that armbar at first, locking up Dern's leg so she wouldn't be able to squeeze her knees together. I thought was really smart. I felt like she was almost out of that armbar, but Mackenzie Dern's been doing this for so long. She just knew how to modify it, was able to tweak the elbow either way. But man, yeah, poor fight IQ from Randa Markos, like Coach Bill's saying. Just should have let her stand up and just beating her up on the feet. But I was entertained either way, Bill.
Yeah, once she drops herself, throw a couple of leg kicks at her and then have her stand up, and try to work her over on the feet where you have more of an advantage for a little while. And then she was just staying in that high guard for so long. She wasn't trying to wiggle another arm in. She wasn't trying to, break the guard open, nothing. But credit to Mackenzie Dern, it was a beautiful display. Once she had that control on the ground and she just went from submission to submission to submission, like, I'll catch you with something. And she eventually got that arm bar, which was nasty, man. She was wrenching that arm in every which direction. The striking concerns me, especially when she starts getting in there at the higher level of this strawweight division, like a Joanna Jacek or a Michelle Waterson, these girls who have, nasty striking and phenomenal takedown defense. Because it's not like Mackenzie Dern is a world-class wrestler either. She's going to have to like pull guard against these girls, and they're not going to stay in her guard long. They're going to punch her in the face and elbow her in the mouth and try to get back up. And then they're going to punish her when she's on the feet. I know she's been working with Jason Perillo, which is, one of the best striking coaches for MMA you can have in the game right now. So that's a great decision from her to go start training with him. But it's not like you can learn to box and compete at this level at 27 years old. She got the level that she is in jiu-jitsu because she's been doing it since she could crawl. I don't see her being able to close the gap in striking. I hope I'm wrong, because she's such a phenomenal talent. I would like to see her do well. But I shudder to think what will happen when she starts climbing the rankings in the strawweight division. She starts getting in there with these girls, who can strike and who can stop the takedowns.
Yeah, for sure. But, she has some time. They're not going to throw her to the Sharks right away. But, Bill, I'm getting a little bit pressed for time here. So, do you want to talk about Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart, or should I go into the prelims? Because the prelims were fantastic, dude.
Let's real quick, Kevin Holland over Darren Stewart. I thought this was a great fight. I did score it for Kevin Holland. It was super close. I could have seen it going either way. I thought both guys looked great. I like Kevin Holland. I like the way he fights. The grappling defense worries me a little bit because he was taken down so easily by another striker in Darren Stewart. Both of these guys have iron chins. Split decision for Kevin Holland. I'm not mad at it. And let's go into the prelims. So let me just run through the results here, Jeff, and you tell me which ones you want to talk about, like we usually do. David Dvorak with the unanimous decision over Jordan Espinosa. Damon Jackson with the come from behind submission guillotine victory over Mirsad Bekti. Damon Jackson taking his fight on 3 days notice or something ridiculous like that. Mayra Bueno Silva with the armbar victory over Amara Borella. Jessica Rose Clark, this one we'll have to talk about, with a TKO over Sarah Alpar. Some weird circumstances there. Derek Minner, another guillotine victory over TJ Laramie. Randy Costa, nasty head kick victory over Journey Newsom. And Andre Ewell, split decision over Irwin Rivera. Tyson Nam, TKO over Jerome Rivera. That was a nice finish as well. Which one impressed you the most, Jeff?
Oh, man. Dude, I missed the first two prelims, so I didn't see Nam versus Rivera or Ewell versus Rivera. But, dude, man, I could talk about all of these, Bill, if I had more time. But I'm going to the one that impressed me the most, I'll give you two. Definitely Jessica Rose Clark versus Sarah Alpar. But I also, and we're going to get into that in a sec, but dude, David Dvorak versus Jordan Espinosa. Bill, I thought Dvorak went in there with a great game plan. He was beating up Espinosa's lead leg with calf kicks. By the end of this fight, Espinosa was fighting southpaw because he beat up so bad. And Dvorak is someone who, I forget if I think he used to be like a chess player or something. But dude, the game plan, the strategy was awesome. I thought he looked great on the feet. Definitely want to see more of him. He was wearing red shorts, Bill. So at the end of this fight, Espinosa's calf was the color of Dvorak's shorts.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah, dude. But Bill, let's get into this Rose Clark versus Sarah Alpar shenanigans that happened at the end, because I had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so Chris Taglioni, who has been the center of controversy lately because of the fight with Ed Herman last week, and the groin strike that wasn't a groin strike, and then Ed Herman came back and won the fight. So this one, he thought it was an illegal blow. Jessica Rose Clark kneed Sarah Alpar as she was lowering her butt to the ground. Her butt was not on the ground, and both of her feet were planted. It was an awkward position. It looked like it could have been illegal. He used the replay, and then he let them fight again. But which I think was the right call for him to use the replay. But the way she was reacting when he asked her if she was ready to go, and she was like, yeah. Like, no, don't let that girl get back in there. So I think it was the right call, the way he called the strike. You know, he thought it was illegal. It wasn't. Okay, we'll restart the fight. But when you see that this girl clearly doesn't want to be in there, you got to use your judgment a little bit. Just call it, man. That was a nasty knee that she took. She didn't need to be in there anymore. Jessica Rose Clark was beating the brakes off her anyway. This girl's getting married in 3 weeks. Like, you don't need to. She doesn't need to be getting beat up any worse than she was. But Jessie Jess did what she had to do, man. So what do you think?
Oh, dude, I thought Jessie Jess looked fantastic in there. Even before the knee, she was looking great. I had her winning every round. But Bill, the ref botched it, man. I like that he used the replay because I had some doubts about the knee myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the instant I saw it, I had some doubts because I saw her butt going down, so it looked like she was down, but her knees weren't on the ground and neither were her hands, so
Yeah.
I was a little unsure. But I think he made the right call with not disqualifying Jessica Rose Clark because it was a legal knee. But Bill, my problem was the way she was going down, she almost fell onto the knee. So one, that was a bad sign. That was a red flag right there for me, dude. The body language, just her going down like that, it was already looking bad. And I didn't like that he let the fight go on. I think he should have stopped it right there. Don't even ask her, dude. Her nose was basically exploded onto her face.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this girl's getting married in 3 years, in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't take a job where you're gonna get smashed up 3 weeks before you get married, and you're gonna be taking a bunch of pictures, man.
I've heard the story more times than you would think, Jeff. I know a young lady who fought bare knuckle boxing the week before her wedding.
That'll make some nice photo albums for you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're a pro fighter getting married, like, and you have a black eye in the photo, it's like. But I mean, her nose was like if she was a Mr. Potato Head, the nose would be in the wrong slot.
Absolutely.
When the kids like rearrange it and put the nose in the ear hole, like that's kind of how she was looking at the end of this. And Mark Fellows makes a good point that it was good that he used the replay, but apparently they changed the rule last week that you can stop the fight and use the replay, and they never told anybody, never told the fighters, never told the coaches. They're just like, oh yeah, we made that rule last week, don't worry about it. It's like, you guys got to do better, man. It's bad enough that every athletic commission hasn't adopted the unified rules that aren't at all unified. We got to have some consistency here, and there needs to be one set of rules, no matter where you are in the world. Let's put a bow on this thing. Jeff, you can jump off whenever you need to. I know you're pressed for time today. But I do want to get into UFC 253 next week. And Randy Costa was the last one I wanted to bring up. Nasty head kick knockout over Jordan Newsom. I believe he did get a bonus for that. So happy for that, dude. Young kid, fights out of Joe Lozon's gym, I believe, which is friendly with my gym network down here in Tampa South. So happy for that guy who was able to get a bonus. Before you go, Jeff, Adesanya and Costa, give me your thoughts on this one. Somebody's O has to go, as they say.
Bill, it's tricky, man. I mean, Costa's good at pushing forward, but I don't know, man. Izzy's beating some tough guys. He's beating some good wrestlers too. I don't know which way this one's gonna go, man. And like the animosity between them is also adding to it because we've seen fights where the animosity is horrible and then building up to it, and then the fight, they stay away from each other.
Yeah.
But dude, I just don't want it to be like Adesanya's fight with Romero, where they were just walking around each other for like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, but I mean, I doubt it'll happen with the eraser because he likes to push forward. But Adesanya is so good at counter striking, Bill. So it's like you have an immovable object meeting an irresistible force here.
For sure. I don't think it'll be like the Romero fight because Romero and Adesanya are both counter strikers. Romero likes to explode off of in reaction to what people are doing coming forward. Costa's going to come forward. So it's just going to be a matter of, will he catch Adesanya, which is possible because Adesanya almost got knocked out by Kevin Gastelum, who's a lot smaller than Costa. I imagine doesn't hit as hard. I've never been hit by either of them, which is why I'm able to talk coherently to you now. But yeah, man, if Gastelum was able to hit him, if Costa is able to get in that range too, it's going to be a quick night for Adesanya. And if he's not, Adesanya will be able to soften him up enough to put him away. I think either way, we're going to see a finish in this fight. The longer it goes, the longer it's going to favor the champ. And the sooner it ends, the more it's going to favor the challenger. I think it's as simple as that. But who knows? Maybe we'll see fucking Costa take down Adesanya and submit him in the first round. Like, so something she's never shown before. Anything could happen, Jeff.
So Bill, before I actually got to get going, but before I do, I agree with you 100%, man. I think Adesanya, if the fight goes past the second round, Adesanya is going to pick him apart. He's just so precise, and he dismantles people. Throughout the fight. He mixes up his shots. He doesn't aim at one particular thing. He'll beat up your body and your legs at the same time. So, I think I agree with you 100%. If it's a shorter fight, more than likely for Costa. But if it's a longer fight, I think I have Adesanya on this one.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, Jeff, thanks for jumping on the show, giving the folks a little taste. I'm going to break down the rest of this card after you jump off. If you guys want to stay in touch with Jeff, of course, it's at @animal_Willis on Twitter and Instagram. Jeff, thanks for jumping on, man. It's always good to talk to you.
Absolutely, dude. Once things slow down with this pandemic, I'm definitely going to be back full time. All right, guys. Thanks again, Bill. Everybody have an awesome weekend.
All right. Later, brother. All right. So that's the animal, and we'll get into the rest of this card. Of course, the co-main event, the vacant light heavyweight championship. Nobody's really talking about this fight. Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. This is going to be a fun one, man. Look, Blachowicz is much more well-rounded. He's got those tricky submissions. He's got the chokes from every angle imaginable. He finishes chokes from positions that you're not supposed to finish chokes. If you've ever studied grappling or jiu-jitsu or both or either. But Reyes, man, he's got great power. We know he can go 5 rounds now after his last fight with John Jones that a lot of people thought he won. He didn't. So here we are. He's fighting for the title. And, I think he's hoping to meet up with John Jones down the line as he grows in his career and as he grows into his body a little bit more, getting into his 30s. He may move up to heavyweight, which is where John Jones is allegedly heading. So we may see those two again. I favor Jan Blachowicz in this one just because he's the more well-rounded fighter. But of course, Dominic Reyes has the power to put him away. He's going to have a range advantage there. He controls distance very well. So if he can keep Blachowicz away from him, and kind of pepper him from the outside before he's able to land a big shot, then we could be looking at a new light heavyweight champion in Dominic Reyes or a new light heavyweight champion in Jan Blachowicz. So it's exciting main event, co-main event dynamic, because in the main event, you're going to have somebody losing for the first time. And in the co-main event, you're going to have a new champion no matter who wins. So that's fun. Kai Kara France and Brandon Royval. That's a fun fight. Ketlin Vieira and Sijara Eubanks. Sijara Eubanks getting back in there after she just fought like last week. So quick turnaround for her. Definitely impressive. We're back at Fight Island. So who knows with COVID and everything, if we're going to have, people pulling out of this card or whatever. That seemed to happen much more infrequently on Fight Island than it did in Las Vegas. And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I kind of want to think that's not a coincidence, because the Fight Island fights were taking place, while this pandemic was still in full swing. And Vegas a little after. But then again, you had, gyms were opening up and you have, people cross training a little bit more. So maybe that's the reason. Hakeem Dawodu, the 11-1 Hakeem Dawodu, getting in there with Zubaira Tukhugov. That'll be a fun fight. Diego Sanchez and Jake Matthews. That's definitely a fun one. Diego Sanchez, man, this guy just doesn't age. I don't know what he's doing with this guru or life coach or whatever it is, but he's keeping Diego Sanchez young, that's for sure. And what else jumps out here? That's all we'll get into because we talked about it a lot so far. Yeah, so this is going to be a fun card, man. Back to Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. This one's going to be regular time, and then the following pay-per-view, the Gaethje Khabib, is going to be middle of the day here in the States. So we'll get to experience what you folks over in Australia experience for every fight card. We'll get to day drink and have a good time with that. Don't forget, guys, MMA on the Rocks sweatshirts are now available. It's hoodie season. So get one for yourself that your girlfriend can steal from you from our friends at Team Reaper. So that's reaper1.co, and I will put the link right in the show notes here, wherever you're watching or listening or consuming the show. And MMA on the Rocks t-shirts as well. If you want to grab yourself one of those. I'm wearing one right now. Oh, and I'm wearing a Team Reaper hat too. Good folks over at Team Reaper. Rip Life One is the parent company. They take care of a lot of the local fighters here. It's a local printing shop right here in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is why I wanted to pair up with them to do the merchandise for the show. They're good folks over there. They got a lot of shirts right now where they're donating a lot of their money to breast cancer research for Breast Cancer Awareness Month coming up in October. Good folks over there. And I only like to work with good folks. That's the way I do business. So they're the ones printing up the MMA on the Rocks t-shirts and hoodies. So go grab yourself one of those. If you find yourself ever over the top or under the influence or both, as we often do on this show, or, go grab a fighter t-shirt as well. Support a local fighter. They take good care of those guys. They give them a good portion of the money from the t-shirt sales. It's tough coming up as a local fighter right now, especially if you have to train full time and you're not working a job and you got to pay coaches and you got to eat right. So, if you want to see the sport continue to grow, you got to support local fighters in some way. So go get on there, buy some t-shirts and merchandise and hats and fun stuff like that. I think that's pretty much it in terms of announcements. This was kind of a last minute episode that was thrown together since I was able to grab Jeff. I had to jump on that opportunity. It was good to have him back on the show. And, reach out. Let's continue chatting on social media. Keep the dialogue open. Whatever you want to talk about, even if you want to talk about the politics and MMA, I'm open to a discussion on it. I have my opinions. Maybe you'll even get a political opinion out of me or two. It depends on how many whiskeys I've had later on today. So that's it at MMA on the Rocks. If you guys want to let me know what you're thinking and drinking out there, that's all we got for this week. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.